there's something very interesting about these podcasts. Now, I don't know if all the members of this podcast are pro PlayStation, pro Xbox, or pro PC. However, when they talk about Xbox, I think if they want to really maintain, a good position of neutrality so that they can actually critique what they think are shortcomings between the companies, they need to point out where there are gaping holes in Xbox's business, but predicated on where there are advancements or where the baseline is. Meaning, if there's something here that is actually good or positive, in a sense, point it out and then point where there could be improvement. If there's something bad, point it out and then point out where you think corrections could be made. Now, let me show you an example here in this Astro Cyborg clip that he got from this particular podcast, where they're asking where Xbox's studios in light of this talk about acquisition with Ubisoft and blah, blah, blah.
P-Rock, I'm kind of glad you said that because Crap brought an interesting point up with just some of the things that have gone wrong with the major acquisitions. And,
some of the things that have gone wrong with the major acquisitions.
Like Bethesda doing what Bethesda does and Obsidian doing what Obsidian does.
I don't see any problem here, but let's keep listening.
They've been running on their own. So everyone's like, come on, Mooch, what are you talking about? They're doing a great job. Well, these are professionals that they bought, and they're doing what they do, right? So they put games out when they say they're going to put games out. But
I was impressed when Insomniac was acquired by PlayStation. As a company, you go out there, you employ professionals to do what they do, and what they do is what they're doing, and that they must do. So check on Obsidian, check on Bethesda. I was also impressed that Ubisoft actually acquired Massive from Activision years ago. Since then, Massive has punched out the Division 1, the Division 2, I think a South Park game somewhere in the corner, some work for Far Cry, and then Star Wars Outlaws and Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. That's what you buy studios to do, especially the ones that are already, getting work done, to have the capability, the infrastructure, and the expertise.
There's other teams, like what's going on with the smaller teams, like Hellblade 2 didn't really do what exactly they wanted.
Okay, what's going on with the smaller teams? Now, here's the question that they're asking. What's going on with the smaller teams, Hellblade 2's developers? And they said and talked about the game. Hellblade 2 didn't really do what it wanted it to do. What did they want it to do? I mean, the first Hellblade game was on PlayStation as a timed exclusive. So I don't think anybody was really expecting that the second game will blow everybody out the water. I mean, we know how exclusivity is gone these days, right? I mean, y'all have seen lately that Final Fantasy is back in the news explaining again to us how they sold 3 million copies when Monster Hunter World is selling 8 million. So already that's a challenge. However, if you look at the studio themselves, remember, guys, in August of last year, Teamer posted and said Ninja Theory's financial statements for last year are out. And Destin came here and said Ninja Theory made $23 million in 2023 with no releases. That seems good. So apparently, Jez came in and added some context and said that they're one of the UK's most advanced mocap facilities, and they're wizards with Unreal Engine. Lots of ways for a studio to make money beyond direct sales, especially if they're close to other studios. Interesting. A lot of people actually looked at that because they looked at the money. Derek Strickland said 22 million pounds of that was from intercompany recharges, which can apparently be a lot of things. Now, in this particular screenshot, Derek said, common types of intercompany transactions include purchase of goods and services, loans, management fees, dividend costs, allocations, and royalties. So, they seem to be doing decently well within the Microsoft ecosystem, providing services and getting paid for their services. I mean, nothing crazy. Somebody said their profit was only 2.9 million pounds, and Destin replied and said that's with no games. No games at all. So are they doing well? I think they're doing okay for a small studio who basically made a sequel on top of a game that pretty much didn't have pretty much what I think was a unified audience like, say, other games. And they're still there. I mean, right? So let's go ahead and listen to the other part of this whole conversation.
What's Double Fine? Since they bought them, and I know that came out and it was a great game, Psychonauts 2. That was a great game, but that was truly close to finish when they grabbed them. What have they been doing?
Double Fine. Let's go and look at Double Fine. I mean, this is Double Fine's whatever. So this is Psychonauts 2, and then they have a bunch of old games that are here. So what is Double Fine doing? Honestly, I have no clue. Apparently, this is the one studio that a lot of people have been pointing out, for. So here I say they seem to have a point, right? I just clicked on one of their games. Apparently, they have this game here that's from 2013 that's like slashed down to $2.99 on Steam called Brutal Legend. I don't know what the game is about. It looks like it's probably, one of those games that they made back in the day. So maybe we're going to see something from this studio. But yes, if they were acquired by Microsoft a long time ago, if you can look at their job descriptions to possibly see what it is that they're doing. They don't have any positions open. And so they're basically doing something. We'll see. We'll see what they're doing. So maybe there's some room here for improvement, if you get what I mean.
Teams that actually need guidance, need help. I don't think Microsoft's there to really help them much.
How do you draw that conclusion that Microsoft's not there to help them much, yet they're basically on Microsoft's payroll and they've not been closed down? I mean, think about it. How do you buy a studio, keep them on payroll, and they're not doing anything for this long, yet you closed Arcane Austin and all of the others? Could it be that they're doing something and you're paying them money to do it? That's another hypothesis, right? Nothing to jump to conclusions like, oh, I don't think Microsoft is there to help them. That's a false narrative. It used to be a narrative that people used to talk about with other studios like Compulsion Games and all this. I mean, if you look at Xbox's studio portfolios, right, they used to say that all the time. What's up with Compulsion Games and Double Fine? But then Compulsion Games is like, hey, man, we have a game coming out. Now they're like, well, what's going on with Double Fine? When in reality, you've not necessarily been able to figure out, okay, what all is going on here? Could they be cooking up something? Could they be collaborating with other studios to help with development? Unless Microsoft is just throwing money away into the gutter, then we need to go ahead and say, all right, man, you guys are crazy.
Or financially, they'll buy them something here or there, but it's not like it's... So I'm a little more concerned with they buy these IP.
Your concern needs to be focused on, you know what? Y'all know what I'm about to say, right? Okay.
They put them in their treasure chest, they close the chest, and that's it. Like Rare, right? They bought Rare. Yes, now we see some of the fruits of Rare, but that's not the same Rare that they bought.
What do you mean now we see some of the fruits, but that's not the same Rare they bought? They bought Rare. Sea of Thieves has been thriving for numerous years. The studio has been eating off of that game, renewing the game, putting more life into it. They threw it on PlayStation. It did well. What more do you want from the studio to do? The studio looks like it's a really small studio. What, you want them to go ahead and start, churning out some AAA game that they're probably not going to be able to finish? That's going to get expensive, and then they're going to hire a whole bunch of people and blah, 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 blah. Is that what these people actually want them to go do? I don't think so. There is room in the industry for small developers, small teams that are able to basically go ahead and keep themselves sustainable across the board. This is why many PlayStation fans have missed out on what Microsoft's core business strategy is, that they could take small things and build them and add them up for them to be something tangible. I think many of them are so caught up with the big and the noisy and the mighty big bam, blah, bam, blam. But in today's gaming industry, that is not sustainable by any means. I think Xbox has managed its studios much better, in my opinion, because here they all are. Very few of them closed. If we turn to the other side, it's not going to be the same thing.
All those games that came along with Rare. We don't
There
have
like three. Rare made only like 3 games. What is this? Everwild, a new magical IP in development at Rare. Oh, they're making this game. Okay. Rare Replay. Did they make other games? Okay, I'm curious. I'm curious as to, what he's asking about here from these small, basically AA size studios. In Ubisoft's world, these studios are usually doing support or making a small title here and there.
a lot of those games out there. Go ahead, Singer.
I don't know, man. I think a lot of, like I said, they'll ask a question, where is Xbox? And then they'll basically cover their eyes and be like, you see, Xbox can be found anywhere. When in reality, they can basically go and say, okay, what is your criticism here? And so now I'm looking and saying, so what is the criticism? Is the criticism that they're not making games fast enough? That's not an overall Xbox problem. They already have enough games that there's breathing room now for every team out there to be able to take their time and make, games at their own, pace. Did, Reforge not say that these teams need to be able to focus and get the games out in quality? Well, then the timing and the differential is there for them to make quality. So again, I'm asking, again, and I'm wondering, like, where are these questions going when these folk could just focus on the gaming industry as it stands, with even teams no longer existing anymore? Does that make sense? Imagine on PlayStation side, there are development teams that are gone. Like they don't exist anymore. Yeah, you're asking about a studio that is basically a small studio with their own, developers. Let me see if there's an about. Let me see how many people here. Founded in 2000 by Team Schafer, located in San Francisco. Psychonauts, Brutal Legend. How many people does this studio carry? Seems like a small studio, guys. Seems like a really small studio by like one guy that's just leading the studio that basically had a dream and Xbox basically picked up. So they're probably going to be that niche that's making these, this studio that's basically making niche games at the end of the day. So again, I really don't understand what it. Okay, maybe they need to, step it up and get a game out fast. But again, that's not an Xbox problem. The people who need to get up and get a game out there fast is PlayStation, and they basically canned a bunch of their studio and their, their teams. So this is a little bit strange for me. If you were to ask me, I can't seem to figure out, what the complaint is here at the end of the day. Somebody help me. Talk to me in the comment section. Thanks so much for watching. Peace out.